Rendon. I'm the Vice President of Immigrant Justice at the Resurrection Project. In 2012, I got a work permit through President Obama's executive order, DACA. That work permit changed my life. It made everything that I have been able to do since then possible. Today, we are here because the state joined city and the county in calling on President Biden to use his executive authority to grant work permits for Illinois' long-term undocumented residents. There are more than 400,000 immigrants in Illinois who for decades have worked without a work permit, have contributed, have gone to school, have graduated. They have U.S. citizen adult children. They have U.S. citizen spouses. Many are dreamers. 400,000 immigrants can come out of the shadows and can join the regular workforce and can have equal worker protection if President Biden takes action. Leader Hernandez and Senator Villa led efforts in the state legislature to pass Resolution 69, unequivocally saying, in Illinois, we believe that we would be stronger if our long-term undocumented could have access to work permits. Senator Villa and Leader Lisa Hernandez son mis campeonas, son nuestras campeonas. Buenos días. Estamos aquí hoy para exigirle al presidente que otorgue permisos de trabajo para los 400,000 indocumentados que han estado viviendo en el estado de Illinois por décadas trabajando, por décadas yendo a la escuela. Muchos son esposos y esposas de ciudadanos y tienen hijos ciudadanos. Sabemos que el presidente tiene la autoridad de poder otorgar permisos de trabajo para nuestra gente y estamos aquí para exigir. Y sabemos esto porque el presidente lo ha hecho en unos casos. I would like to introduce now Xochitl Cervantes, who is with the Chicago Workers Collaborative, who actually was able to receive a work permit through the DALE program.
Bravo. Buenos días, mi nombre es Xochitl Cervantes. Yo trabajo para la empresa de Miacapo en Woodney. En mi trabajo he sufrido diversos abusos, violaciones e incluso fallecimiento de una compañera hace aproximadamente un año. Gracias a Dios tuve la oportunidad de podernos congregar como compañeros y gracias a Colaborative estuvo apoyándonos y tratándonos de unir. Con su apoyo obtuvimos la oportunidad de aplicar a un permiso de trabajo porque ellos nos enseñaron cómo defender nuestros derechos, nos educaron hacia nuestros derechos y nos dijeron que existía un programa como DALE, donde teníamos la oportunidad, gracias o desgraciadamente porque fuimos abusados y hemos sido abusados como muchos compañeros más. No es justo que los trabajadores estemos siempre sufriendo violaciones para poder ser escuchados. Gracias al apoyo de Colaborative, después de 2 meses yo pude conseguir un permiso de trabajo y estoy feliz y por todas esas compañeras que hoy están luchando por tener ese permiso y estoy ayudando y apoyando. Mi más grande esperanza es que todos tengamos un permiso de trabajo sin tener que sufrir y sin tener que estar. Por eso agradezco a todos los amigos que hoy están aquí y que han estado y nos han apoyado en cada momento. No sé si hay alguien aquí que ha luchado por más tiempo que nuestro congresista y que a quien me da mucho placer y gusto presentar, el congresista Chuy Jesús García.
Muy buenos días y bienvenidos todos y todas esta mañana. Delighted to be here with this broad coalition of pro-immigrant forces gathered this morning reflecting on some very important things. First of all, that Chicago has been the leading sanctuary city in the United States, and we intend on keeping it like that. And of course, welcoming the state of Illinois for everything that it does to protect all of our people. Two, I am grateful for the presence of everyone here this morning. All of the organizations, the unions, of course, my colleagues in elected office, and everyone who struggles for dignity for immigrants in our state and across the country. Now that we have and are experiencing the most restrictive and punitive executive action on immigration taken in recent memory, it's time to do the right thing. It's time for President Biden to deliver for the working men and women of our country who have brought prosperity and vitality to our economy and solidity to our society. Because of their work and all of their efforts, they have made America a better place for all. And that's why we are gathered here this morning. As an immigrant, as a privileged member of our community who had the opportunity to be Illinois' first elected immigrant member of Congress. The first one in my family to go to college. I am truly grateful to my country and to my state. But at the same time, given all that our communities have experienced over the past 40, 50 decades, it is time for bold leadership and for just leadership in the White House. And that's why today we once again gather to ask President Biden to do the right thing and to use the executive authority of his office to provide relief, to provide peace of mind and tranquility to people in our community, like the original dreamers, the mothers and fathers and grandparents of the DACA class of holders, and those who wish that they could be a part of the DACA class of immigrants in this country. Two, spouses of U.S. citizens. Both Republican and Democratic voters agree that they should have the ability to be here, to reunite with their families, and to continue living a normal life in peace. That is why we gather here today, because it's time for continuing use of the authority that is sacred and bound in the authority of the presidency of the United States. This is the time to act. This is the time to show compassion. And this is the time to say, we value and recognize all the contributions that have been made by people who came here 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe 3 years ago or 3 days ago. It's time to bring them out of the shadow. It's time to provide an opportunity for dignity. And we know they pay taxes. We know they abide by the laws. We know they create prosperity, and they ought to have the opportunity to live, to work, and to be a part of our community, because that's what makes our country great. Thank you.
Yes.
Muy brevemente, les agradezco a todas las organizaciones comunitarias, las organizaciones pro inmigrantes, los sindicatos, mis colegas en puestos electivos a todos niveles de gobierno por estar aquí. Este es el momento decisivo. Exhortamos nuevamente al presidente Biden, ahora que ya sabemos lo que es el utilizar la autoridad para restringir el asilo, que veremos lo que pase en los próximos días y semanas con esa orden ejecutiva y con el futuro del asilo, que ahora es el momento para reconocer las contribuciones de nuestra comunidad, para proveer el tipo de paz que cada familia merece tener, el momento para proveer permisos de trabajo y protección a la gente que vino aquí, que son los padres y abuelos de los jóvenes DACA, cónyuges de ciudadanos norteamericanos y el grupo de personas que no alcanzaron DACA. Este es el momento propicio, pero a la misma vez hay cientos y miles y millones de personas que siguen trabajando, creando prosperidad, fortaleciendo la nación, que necesitan un nuevo comienzo con la protección del Poder Ejecutivo de la Casa Blanca. Por eso, presidente Biden, escucha nuestras voces. El tiempo de actuar es ahora. Muchas gracias.
Good morning, everyone. My name is... Buenos días a todos. I'm a little nervous, sorry. My name is Simone Pena, and I'm 19 years old, and I'm undocumented. I'm a rising junior at Harvard University. Concentrating in government with a secondary in visual arts. This summer, I'm an intern with ABIC and TRP. I came to this country with my family from Estado de Mexico, when I was 14 years old, seeking a better life and more opportunities. Education has always been a cornerstone of my family values, and it became my primary focus. I learned English and graduated near the top of my class at Shores High School and got a full scholarship at Harvard.
Yeah. Wow.
Thanks to great teachers like Mr. Islas. My dad works in construction. My mom works 2 jobs as assistant in the classroom as a parent mentor and cleaning offices. We clean offices buildings together on the weekend as a family, which is where I met Ere and Becca. As an undocumented student, a significant barrier that I encounter is not being able to have a work permit. Instead of stipends, sometimes I get a gift card in exchange of my work. This lack of security not only impacts my academic performance, but also my mental and physical well-being. I'll be graduating from Harvard in less than 2 years, and I'm deeply concerned I won't be able to work in my desired field legally. Obtaining a work permit would not only allow me to gain valuable experience in my area of study, but also enable me to focus on my future without the constant fear of deportation or unemployment. The undocumented immigrant community is resilient, hardworking, and eager to contribute to the society that has given us a chance to dream. Thank you, Illinois General Assembly, for taking this important step to call on President Biden to grant work permits to me and my parents. I'm honored to introduce Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. Thank you for fighting for work permits for me and our beautiful undocumented immigrant community. Please welcome Congresswoman Ramirez. Thank you.
Simón me dio un pen que me llevé a Washington, D.C., que es la mariposa de Dreamers. Y la uso mucho como un recordatorio de qué es la razón que nosotros estamos en el Congreso, peleando por ti y por todos nosotros. It is so good to be here today. It is even greater to be here with a coalition of community organizations, of community leaders, of the people most impacted by this broken immigration system, and my colleagues at every single level of elected office, fighting, I was told, don't say like hell, fighting like heaven, like heaven, right? The pastor told me that yesterday, I'm not gonna say hell anymore. Fighting like heaven until we have heaven on earth, and we have true comprehensive immigration reform. And as I stood here, I was looking at the sign, and I said to myself, today is the perfect day for President Biden to get on a press conference and issue an executive order that extends work permits for all, isn't it? Yeah. Today is the perfect day. That would, in fact, make today truly a happy Friday. So, President, if you're here and you still have a couple hours, I know you're ahead an hour in DC, although I think he's probably still in France, but you can come back on that plane, or you can do that announcement from France if you'd like. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Look, folks, Many of you know me. You know that I come from this community. I come from these organizations. I had the opportunity to work in the State House with many of you. And this work for Congressman Garcia, for me, and for all of us, is truly personal. Jose Maximiliano Guerra came to this country in the early 80s. He came, as many people in his family, desperately looking how to help his family in Guatemala, who was literally starving to death. And as he and his family would remind me, would have to figure out how to share un huevito for 5 of them, entre 3 tortillas y un huevito for 5 of them. Jose Maximiliano Guerra has put 5 boys through college, working at a diner about 70 hours a week, Monday through Friday in Beaumont Cragen and Saturday and Sunday in Cicero. Jose Maximiliano Guerra, or how I like to call him, Tío Chilano, doesn't go 1 week without calling me. And that call is always the same call. Delia, ¿hay novedades? ¿Te ha dicho algo el abogado? ¿Has hablado con el presidente? He assumes I talk to the president every day. Congressman Garcia can test, he's not that accessible now. Because if he was, we would tell him, wouldn't we? But every single time that I see that call come through, I have to fight every possible being not to cry, because I have no response for him. I don't have an update. Jose Maximiliano Guerra, mi tío Chilano, has put these boys through college, has worked his butt off in this country. And because of this system and bars, he still cannot live here outside of the shadows. This is exactly why this coalition is here today. We know that President Biden is feeling this political urgency to begin restricting asylum, which we know is not the values that we say we have in this country. We know that across the country, you are seeing anti-immigrant rhetoric in ways that perhaps for some of us had never seen in our lifetime. And today, as a coalition, from the local level to the federal level, we are saying resist the anti-immigrant rhetoric and persist with solutions that help every single person in this country. I say that because we know clearly, and we've seen the numbers, that when you extend work permits for those that have been here, like my tío Chilano, 39 years, or if you've been here 3 days, it will help the workforce that's desperately asking for those workers. It will generate revenue for cities like Chicago, the state of Illinois, even the state of Florida. And it will make it possible for families to be able to stay together. And so I want you to know that the work that we are doing today, good thing I can project, huh? That the work that we are doing today is work that this coalition has been doing for years and decades.
Yeah.
And that in absence of congressional action, no real work done since 1986, which is when my parents became citizens, that we call on President Biden to do what other presidents in 30 years have not done, which is issue boldly, proudly, unapologetically work permits for all. Yeah. And Congressman Garcia and I and many of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and Congressional Progressive Caucus members will not stop every breathing moment between now and the next few weeks, because June, I believe, is a beautiful month and the perfect month for President Biden to finally issue the executive order that keeps families together. And we will work, y decir sí se puede, hasta que lleguemos al momento que decimos sí se pudo. Así que a trabajar se ha dicho, presidente.
Hi, my name is Imelda Salazar. I was born in Guatemala, and I've been an organizer with the Southwest Organizing Project for the past 20 more years. SWAT represents hundreds of families of undocumented. And we have mixed status families. So if you're a woman and you have tears in your eyes, I'm proud of you. It's such a powerful tool to show and reveal ourselves in public. So thank you for that. I'm not gonna repeat what we're asking President Biden, but we want work permits for all. That's the bottom line. And here I am introducing a friend, someone who has been standing with us for years and passed resolution in the House, and that's our Representative Lisa Hernandez.
Gracias, buenos dias. It is truly an honor to be here today in the company of such powerful leaders here from our community. So I'm State Representative Lisa Hernandez, Deputy Majority Leader in the Illinois House of Representatives. I'm very proud to share with all of you that House Joint Resolution 69, calling on the Biden administration to issue work permits to long-term immigrants, passed both chambers with overwhelming support in our last session. And I have to give a big thank you to my partner on this resolution, Senator Karina Milla, who championed the and got it done in the Senate. Mi amiga. I've been in Springfield for a long time. But really seriously, long enough to tell you that it's not very often that a policy issue can get business groups, unions, worker advocates, and community leaders all on the same page. When I look around this room, what I see is a state of Illinois fully united in its call for a very basic right, the right to work an honest job without fear. In fact, we have seen Illinois leaders at every level of government and industry calling for the federal government to issue these desperately needed work permits. As a representative of a community with a strong and hardworking immigrant population, I am on the front lines of this issue. I often hear my constituents about the sacrifices they make every day, and I'm serious, it's every day, in the hopes of creating a better life for their children. And while it is frustrating that we are limited at what we can do here at the state level, we must find a way to unite as the leaders in this room to deliver to these hard workers and their families. Whether they live in mixed status households, whether they are young people who do not qualify for DACA, or whether they have been working in the shadows and living in fear for more than a generation, immigrant workers deserve the opportunity and peace of mind that a legal permit to work would bring. For decades, these workers have been vital to our economy, helping us through the pandemic as essential workers and contributing to a record-breaking economic recovery here in Illinois. They delivered for Illinois, let's deliver for them. Right now, Illinois can only fill 76 out of 100 jobs, open jobs in these days. That means many critical roles go unfilled across the hospitality, manufacturing, health, education, and agricultural sectors, holding our leading industries back from the growth they could achieve, from driving our economy forward even further. And these impacts all of us. The business leaders in the room will tell you that expanding our authorized workforce isn't just the right thing to do. It's what is good for business. It's what is good for Illinois. As a champion of immigrant rights, I am proud of the landmark legislation we have passed in Illinois to make our state one of the most welcoming states in the nation for immigrant and refugee communities, including access to driver's license, the Trust Act, the RISE Act. But there is only, there's so much more. I could go on and on. But there is only so much we can do within our state powers. We're doing all we can do, but we're limited. That's why I am so honored to be here with our congressional representatives who will carry our urgent message to Washington, D.C. and to President Biden himself. The Illinois General Assembly's message is clear. We urge President Biden to use his executive power to bring real relief to working families who are the backbone of our economy. Long-term immigrant workers have waited long enough. The time for executive action is now.
Wow, what an energy in the room. I hope you can feel it. It is indeed a beautiful June day. Buenos dias, good morning to everyone. I'm Jose Marco Paredes. I'm the Vice President for Civic Engagement at the Latino Policy Forum and member of the Illinois Latino Agenda. At the forum, we're so proud of the work of our partners at the Work Permits for All Coalition, our elected officials, our key allies, and the community members, which are our guiding star, right? We want to express our deepest appreciation to obviously Leader Hernandez, but to our other champion, right, a Latina, who was able to push in the Senate, right, this resolution through the finish line. It is a truly honor to introduce now to Senator Karina Villa.
My name is Karina Villa, and I'm the Illinois State Senator of the 25th District, and that's out in DuPage, Kane, and suburban Cook County. Because we know that as Latinos, we are in every single county of the state. When I first ran, people were like, "Estás loca, no vas a ganar." Pero pues aquí estamos. So we gotta make sure that that collective effort that got us elected to office will continue to, sorry, I'm a little emotional, that we will use our voice to amplify the voice of thousands. I'm holding the mic right now, but behind that mic, there are 400,000 in Illinois who are demanding work permits for all. It's my voice that you are hearing, but it's their stories that propelled this forward. I want to thank each and every one of my staff members from my office, because when they heard about this resolution, they fought so hard, tirelessly. There was even a little glitch, as some of us might know, and people thought that the bill might not be moving. But thanks to our hardworking staff and the staff of all of us standing here today, we have been able to sing victory. I was sitting yesterday with a good friend. His name is Natalio. He's a landscaper and has 6 children. He is 1 year younger than me. He came to this country in search of a better life. He works winters in the factory, and in the summers, he mows lawns. Much like El Tío de Delia, much like Simon, who's at Harvard. They work hard and tirelessly, and all they want is for a better future. So whether it's from Harvard or from landscaping or from essential workers working at meatpacking districts who were risking their lives during COVID because they were told they were essential workers, each and every one of those stories deserves a tomorrow. Each and every one of those stories deserves to come out of the shadows, because they are essential and they are critical to our state's well-being. We have overwhelming support. The message is strong. Here in Illinois, I am sending this love and this message with our amazing leaders in Congress. You are not alone. We are with you. Sorry, Congressman, I don't see your face. But we are with you, and we are sending that message. We know it's brutal every day when you go and you fight for us. But keep that energy, because all of us are with you. All of us are together with you. And I really want to take a moment to thank those people who are working in social service agencies, who have to divide themselves into a million pieces. Those folks who are at the front line fighting every single day for others, while quietly and silently they're suffering because they too are undocumented, because they too have blended families, because they too are in pain. I thank each and every one of you. It is time. Let's go, President Biden. Let's get this done.
Good morning. My name is Sam Sanchez. I'm the CEO of Third Coast Hospitality. I sit on the board of the National Restaurant Association and the executive board of the Illinois Restaurant Association, where I chaired for 2 years during the pandemic. The reason I'm bringing the pandemic, because post-pandemic, while millions of Americans enjoyed the benefits of unemployment and travel the country, when we had to open the restaurants, where the undocumented, they came and saved our industry. Without them, our restaurants would not be open and there will be no taxable revenue. We owe that to them. We owe that to the people that have been working there for decades, my employees. The data shows that over 50% of employees in our hospitality industry, from hotels to restaurants, are undocumented. And they have paid billions of dollars in taxes with no benefits. We're asking President Biden and his administration to issue an executive order, like you've done for the new arrivals, to do the right thing, that those who have been in this country, contributed in building this country, as we've done for decades, to not to be ignored anymore. Our children are voting age. Our grandchildren are voting age. President Biden, if you want our vote in November, we're asking you, we're demanding that please stop ignoring our hard-working, undocumented, and issue work visas for all, as you've done for the new arrivals. Le agradezco mucho la atención a todos. Estamos pidiendo para nuestras familias que tienen años de estar pagando miles de millones de impuestos sin beneficios, que es tiempo que sean reconocidos con un permiso de trabajo. Now I want to bring someone to the podium who's very familiar to all this hardship, that lived through it and experienced it, a good friend, Susana Mendoza, Illinois State Controller.
Thank you, my friend, and muy buenos días. ¿Cómo estamos?
Bien.
Aquí estamos y no nos vamos.
Gracias. Si nos echan, regresamos.
Well, it's wonderful to be here with all of you. It's wonderful to be here with all my colleagues and my congresswoman right here, and my colleagues from the legislature, Senator Vila, and I would say our fearless leader here, Lisa Hernandez. Thank you for your leadership. She said she was crazy. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, she said when I first ran, people told me I was crazy, but here I am. Oh, she said people told me I was crazy, I wasn't going to win. But here I am. That's true. And I was out there knocking on doors for you to get her elected. And I'm very, very proud of that because she's amazing. And we see what happens when we elect people who represent all of us, right? Who are going to fight hard and go against the grain and do what needs to be done to stand up for those who feel that they are voiceless. They are electing us, in fact, to be the voice for the voiceless. So I'm happy to join you all today in trying to do the same. A lot of statistics have been thrown out, so I'm not going to bore you with more. But what I will say is that granting permits to dreamers and to spouses of U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents, the 400,000 hardworking immigrants who are not working at their actual capacity, right? This is good fiscal policy. As Illinois' Chief Fiscal and Accountability Officer, I can tell you that it would, in fact, help Illinois' bottom line and Illinois taxpayers to get these immigrants working. They want to work. Many of them, as we heard, are working, but they're underperforming in terms of their ability to even contribute to the tax base. Simone Pena, where is she? Yeah, she's going to graduate from Harvard. But without a worker's permit, maybe Sam can hire her in his restaurant to work. washing dishes. Is that what we want for America? Of course not. She should be a lawyer or a doctor. What's your major? Government. She should be leading. You don't make a lot of money there, if you're honest. But the point is, we are graduating a generation of dreamers who are being told that they're not going to be able to accomplish their dreams. That's not America. America is all about the American dream and knowing that you can come from nothing and become gigantic in this country, right? And that is the promise that many families risk their lives coming to this country for. We're not talking about families who chose to come here to commit crimes, as you know the haters would like us to believe, but families who chose to come here, risking their lives, many losing their lives, in fact, coming over here for the dream. And it wasn't even, in fact, for them. It was for their kids, that their kids might have the opportunity to someday accomplish the dreams that they didn't get to accomplish in their own country. That is what the promise of America is. It's the greatest idea ever created in the furthest reaches of the world, where people, no matter where they're born, can think about America as this beacon of promise and opportunity. And maybe, if they're lucky enough, could someday themselves become Americans. And today, we're not even here to ask that the government let them become Americans, because as we all know, that's a super long, drawn-out process. But we're asking for the most basic possible thing that we could ask for. And that's for the many people who have come here, who have followed the rules outside of literally trying to survive, which is what got them here, right? So maybe they broke that rule. But they've been so great in every other aspect. They've been contributing the economy with their labor, with their work. When they go to the grocery store and pay their groceries, no one's asking them for their green card. They're asking them for their green cash. And nobody questions whether or not they're here illegally. We're happy to take their money. We're just not happy to give them dignity in the process. That's not okay. And today we're asking for these folks to have the most basic dignity, and that's the ability to actually legally work. Now, employers in Illinois, as we've heard, are having difficulty finding workers to keep their businesses running. That's why you see business leaders here today making the case for why this makes financial sense. And we're not just talking about the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which I'm very happy is here. The Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. But we also have the leader of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, representing every business in the state of Illinois, not just Hispanic businesses. This isn't just a Hispanic issue. This covers everyone who's in this similar situation of wanting to work and not having the dignity to work. As you've heard, these folks can pay taxes and contribute to the economy. And the federal government has allowed refugees and asylum seekers to be here legally. We've heard that and we see it. But yet they've neglected to issue workers permits to them in a timely way, leaving states and cities, states like ours, to have to pick up the costly tab. They should not have to wait as long as they're waiting for work permits. None of these folks that we're talking about today should have to wait. It causes an unnecessary drain on state finances. Why? Because again, they want to work, but if we don't let them work, then we have to provide social services that are very costly. We have to provide stipends, we have to provide housing, and it creates conflict within our own communities, and it does nothing to strengthen the economy. Now, it makes much more sense for these asylum seekers and our immigrants to pay into the tax base through gainful employment, and gainful employment of their choice. You know, you're going to make a lot more as a lawyer than you would as a busboy. It makes much more sense for them to be paying greater taxes through their greater jobs than to have the state taxpayers have to shoulder the cost burden because of worker permit delays or the inability to even access a worker's permit. Now, transparency truly has been the hallmark of my administration as your controller. And while I created recently an online transparency portal to be able to track how much we're spending on asylum seekers that are being bused here as political ploy from Texas, how much it's costing us as a state so that we can keep track of this, I would much rather be tracking and reporting back to you on how much all 400,000 immigrants with work permits are actually contributing to the state's economy. I think it would blow your mind in a good way. Now, this is truly a no-brainer. Let's save taxpayer money by getting these worker permits approved. President Biden, we are here to ask you to do the right thing. It is time. It was time many years ago. You have the opportunity to be the one that actually gets it done. We've seen way too many people for decade upon decade work really hard, contribute so much, hoping and waiting for that worker's permit. And many of them have died waiting for that permit. Let's not have one more person be on that list of statistics. Thank you and God bless you.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Labastida. I am an immigrant documented. I have been working in the shadows for many years with Panica SME. I have been supporting and volunteering during the pandemic, providing research to our community and also in our lives. So yes, President Biden has the power to open programs that I can apply for getting work permits. So I want to thank powerful leaders in our community, like other woman Ruth Cruz, that joined the city in order to urge President Biden to open this program. And so let's welcome other woman Ruth Cruz.
Buenos días. Buenos días. Hola, concejal Ruth Cruz, orgullosamente mexicana. Y otra loca también, porque me dijeron no vamos a ganar, pero estoy aquí también. But I want to say thank you all for joining us today. I stand here to echo the sentiment shared by our esteemed speakers and the remarkable individuals that gathered here today. I'm Alderwoman Ruth Cruz from the 30th Ward, very proud to be Mexican, an immigrant. But let me tell you what has been happening also on the local level. In December, the Chicago City Council took a significant stand forward by pressing a resolution to urge Biden administration to carve out a path for work permits for our long-term undocumented immigrants. I represent Belmont Cragen, a neighborhood with many undocumented neighbors that have worked every day to make Chicago a vibrant city. Our long-term undocumented community need and deserve work permits. It's heartbreaking when our residents say, you have forgotten about us. No nos hemos olvidado de ustedes. La lucha sigue y por eso estamos aquí. Pero nunca nos olvidaremos de todos los residentes que tenemos que todavía no tienen permiso de trabajo. Giving work permits to undocumented immigrants, including dreamers and mixed status families, is fair and just. It protects workers and helps grow our economy, but also work permits give our neighbors and our friends and our families a chance to continue to thrive in the great city we call home. When we left our countries, we told our families, nos vamos para el norte. El norte has become our home. So we want to say that we are super proud to be here in Chicago. Today, we continue to call on President Biden to do the right thing, to be on the right side of history, and to make sure to give our work permits to all of our undocumented residents. Hoy seguimos pidiendo al presidente Biden que permita que 180,000 habitantes indocumentados de Chicago soliciten permisos de trabajo. Esos permisos significan más que solo empleo. Simbolizan la oportunidad y la libertad. But also, before I leave today, I want to extend my gratitude to my colleague from the 26th Ward, Alderperson Jesse Fuentes, for introducing the resolution, again advocating for work permits for all, but also to all my colleagues who are supportive of this initiative. But let's continue fighting for justice, compassion, and inclusivity. Gracias.
Good morning. My name is Karen Kent. I'm the president of Unite Here Local 1. Unite Here Local 1 is Chicago's hospitality workers union. Our union represents workers in Northwest Indiana, Chicago, in hotels, casinos, airports, universities, and convention centers. And we are majority women, majority people of color, and immigrants from around the world. Often, newly arrived immigrants find themselves their first job in the hospitality industry. And in Chicago, in our union properties, we have welcomed waves of immigrants throughout the years. Bosnian refugees, lost boys, the Sudan, Ethiopian diaspora, waves of immigrants from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Somalia, China, and Ecuador, to name a few. The waves of immigrants are like rings on the tree in our shops. If we know where you came from, we know your seniority. Unite Here has been on the front lines of organizing for the rights of immigrant workers for years. We negotiate contract with specific protections for immigrant workers because we believe that immigrant rights are union rights and immigrant rights are worker rights.
That's right. Yes.
And if you know us, you know that we have and will organize every member, call in every favor, make every call. We could probably call people in this room. Pray to God and do everything that we can to defend immigrant members on the front lines. There's no doubt that the immigration system is broken and we need comprehensive reform to fix it. And our union has advocated for such reform for many years with freedom rides, marches, rallies, civil disobedience, and siempre organizando. We have never wavered because in addition to a union card, the best protection for immigrants is a green card. We support expanding work permits for long-term undocumented individuals because it is an important step to help immigrant workers be more secure in their workplaces and provide stability to immigrant families. We will continue to push for work permits for all, for comprehensive immigration reform and justice for all immigrants. And we will continue to organize the union because in addition to a green card, the best protection for immigrants is a union card. CPU and SEIU are also supportive and they're somewhere.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
I'm here and very proudly here today as the president and CEO of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce. My name is Lou Sandoval. And I'm just 2 generations removed from my great-grandfather being in the Bracero program, my father being a steelworker on the south side of Chicago. And, you know, those previous generations had an opportunity to pursue their economic empowerment because the rules worked for them, okay? And as a business person and as a leader of the business community, this isn't an issue of partisanship. This is an issue of opportunity. And this is an issue of having people meet their potential. When we don't, as you've heard today, when we do not fulfill the promise, and we only go so far to let people become educated through DACA, but then be underemployed, we're not allowing them to fulfill their promise. Marry that with the $1 trillion, over $1 trillion economy in the state of Illinois, which is primarily driven by a lot of the community that you see here today. We need to act, and President Biden needs to act. There's a saying that you may be done with history, but history isn't done with you. And I go back to 2006, when one said, current president and one other senator from the state of Illinois voted for co-chair on the McCain-Kennedy bill. It's no surprise that those same issues surfaced during his presidency. They were an issue during his vice presidency, and he needs to finish the job. So on behalf of all the businesses in the state of Illinois, and the biggest thing that I hear from a lot of business leaders, and that there's a lot of there's a big need for workforce and workforce development. There's a big gap right now and a lot of jobs that go unfilled. We need to do the right things for the long-term undocumented and to make sure that they are able to fulfill their economic empowerment and their economic destiny. So on behalf of that, and on behalf of the businesses that we represent, we're here, we're ready to support, and we're thankful to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Buenos días.
My name is Manuel Perez, and I'm Senior Vice President at Cabrera Capital Markets. I'm honored to join this coalition of friends and colleagues as we call on the President to issue work permits for long-term residents. You know, my story is similar to the one that you heard here today from Congresswoman Delia Steele to Simone. My parents immigrated to this country in the early 80s and searched for a better life. They spoke little English and had less than a high school education, but they had a strong work ethic. By the time I was 6, my mother had taught me all the math that she had learned in Mexico, which included things like multiplication, division, things that I wouldn't see until much later on in life, in school. And because of her, I excelled academically. I got into a boarding school that was focused on math and science. And then I attended Princeton University on a full ride. After graduation, I came back to Chicago. I worked and contributed to the local economy. I worked in the public sector. I most recently served as deputy mayor of Chicago under Mayor Lightfoot. And now I get to work at Cabrera Capital Markets, which is the largest Latino, Mexican-American owned investment bank and brokerage firm in the country. And you know, our founder, Martin Cabrera, also has roots in Mexico. And his grandparents came here through the Bracero program, picking fruit and vegetables in the field. And 2 generations later, their grandson is now one of the most successful bankers in the country. You know, I don't think my parents could have imagined that their son would become deputy mayor 30 years ago when they came to this country. Just like I don't think Martin's grandparents could have imagined that their grandson would be one of the most successful bankers in this country. The issue of work permits is not only an issue of fairness for these long-term workers, but it's an issue, it's a recognition of their contributions, and it's an investment in the contributions that their children and their grandchildren will make for years to come. So let's get this done, Mr. President.
My name is Rebecca Chiampi, Executive Director of the American Business Immigration Coalition. I just want everyone to give a round of applause to Erendira Rondon. Ere is also my best friend. I don't know if I'm her, but she's fine. About a year ago, Ere and Imelda and I had dinner, and it was because Ere and the Resurrection Project was picked as President Biden's partner to assist new migrants with work permits. And Senator Karina Villa mentioned about sometimes we have to separate ourselves in our public life. And Ere and Imelda described how painful that is. Well, they're really happy for the dignity of a work permit for the new migrants, how painful that was for Ere, Imelda, and their families and their communities. They did it so well that when the president visited here in October, the Resurrection Project, Ere, and the state of Illinois was celebrated as a model of rapid work permits. So Ere, Raul, Josh, Imelda, Jeff strategized and met with the greatest legislator we believe in the country, Representative Lisa Hernandez, Senator Villa,
And now you have seen at every level of government in Illinois, from the city, the county, I saw Commissioner Almanaya earlier, to the state and the federal level where we have champions calling the president for work permits for all. And so I'm here today because I really want to recognize the work of these incredible and powerful women, and the fact that Representative Hernandez is also the chair of the party, and as we know, the DNC is going to be in Chicago, and so we're here today because Simone needs a work permit. Our families and his parents, they know that people here need a work permit, and we're here to welcome the president here to provide work permits for all. And on that, I'm going to recognize a lot of elected officials who have been our champions. So I just ask, after I say a name, that we clap once, okay? Can we just practice? I'm gonna just say Ere, and then we're gonna clap once. Okay, Ere. Great, okay. State Representative Norma Hernandez. The State Representative Eva Dina Delgado. Cook County Board Commissioner Frank Aguilar. Cook County Board Commissioner Alma Naya. Chicago City, our best city clerk in the country, Ana Valencia. Alderman Andre Vasquez. Alderman Daniel Laspada. Alderman Felix Cardona. Joliet Councilman Cesar Guerrero. Office of State Senator, Office of U.S. Senator Dick Durbin. Senator Tammy Duckworth. Office of Congressman Quigley. Office of State Senator Villanueva. Office of the Lieutenant Governor. State Representative, my state representative, the best, Lydia Jimenez. And our, okay, yes. Oh my God. Okay, the first Asian American ever elected. State Senator Graciela Guzman. And our Deputy Mayor, Beatriz Ponce de Leon. I just want to say, because of Beatriz, because of Jesus, our mayor led a national letter with 40+ mayors calling on the president for work permits. So thank you. All right, and that concludes our press conference. We have a reception in the next room, and you're welcome to go.